I've been putting off making this video for a while now. Not because I didn't want to make it, but back when I did the Shaggy DA video with my friends, we just kind of like watched it and I thought, oh, this movie's just gonna leave my memory like immediately. But then in the process of editing, I had to scrub through the movie for clips over and over again. Now after doing that so many times, that entire movie is just burned into my memory forever. It'll probably be one of the last things that flashes in my eyes before I die. Free Guy is a movie I was really hoping would just leave my brain forever, but now I know it's going to be trapped there by the time I'm done making this. But that's the price I'm willing to pay, because I just have too much to say about it. The first time I even heard about this movie, it was in some terrible Facebook ad for it, and it didn't really give a whole lot of context as to what it was. The CG was really bad, and I couldn't even tell if it was supposed to be a video game, or augmented reality, or what. I mean, I like Ryan Reynolds and all. I mean, he was Van Wilder. Van Wilder! But every once in a while he's in a dud, and I kinda dismissed this as one of those and then just forgot about it. But then one day my roommates went to watch it and I figured why not, but then it turned out to be way worse than I could have ever expected. I was hoping if it was going to be bad, it would at least be entertaining bad. I'm a big fan of stuff that's so bad it's good, especially bad horror movies. When a horror movie is bad, it's hilarious.
And then they're going to eat me! Oh my god!
But that doesn't really work for comedies. When a horror movie is really bad, it's just funny. But when a comedy is really bad, it's just not funny. Though to be a little fair, it didn't start off that bad. I did like that they dropped you into the world without telling you it was a video game or anything. The idea of following the day in the life of an NPC in a GTA-like game is actually a pretty neat idea. But as soon as you start thinking about the fact that this is a video game is where everything starts to immediately fall apart. Now I've seen a lot of movies, even some movies that I like that have to do with video games where they just obviously don't know a whole lot about them. A good example would be the movie Grandma's Boy. It's really obvious they didn't know the most about video games or testing, but they at least knew enough to get by.
Don't you think that the dwarves on level 4 look a little too similar to the elves on level 6?
Well, that's an interesting theory, Kane, but redesigning all those characters at this stage would be way too expensive.
I agree, but what if you just rendered them a different color?
It doesn't have to be 100% accurate to keep me from being taken out of it. Like, as long as the story is entertaining enough, you can get by with like the bare minimum. But the video game logic in Free Guy is so stupid, it takes me out of the movie constantly. I can understand a movie from like the 90s or the early 2000s not knowing that much about video games, but this movie is like new. I guess the closest thing to compare this world to is like GTA Online, and I guess it's got like 100% perfect graphics and physics, which, whatever, I can look past that at least. It saves them a lot of money, and having this whole movie animated wouldn't have done any favors for it anyways. Though I could argue it would take a pretty beefy computer to be able to even run something like that, and everybody's always playing this game on shitty desktops and laptops. Though I bet even Linus Tech Tips can't even build a computer that could possibly run this thing.
Like, I'm not gonna deny that I dropped my fair share of hard R's back then, because we didn't even, the term hard R didn't even exist.
Because it establishes that NPCs not only work their jobs throughout the day, but also have houses that they go home to. So the city is populated by hundreds, if not thousands of these NPCs that are constantly being rendered and running all these different routines. And since this is an online experience, I imagine that there's twice as many NPCs to take over the night shift, and every single one of them has their own fully rendered house that they can go to. These houses aren't a separate instance either, they're directly connected to the open world. Like, sorry bud, that 4TB hard drive ain't gonna cut it. Most open world games have a limited number of houses and buildings you can go into. If every NPC and every player all had their own room in an apartment or a house in this game, it would be crazy huge, not to mention near impossible to run. But hey, that's just me being nitpicky. Let's get into the actual plot of this. So Ryan Reynolds plays Guy, an NPC who's just kind of going about his life inside this video game. He works as a bank teller every day and drinks the same coffee, like he's got this routine down pat because, you know, he's supposed to be an NPC. But I guess deep down he longs to find his true love. Wow, you guys, that is so touching. That's like something we can all relate to. Now, up to this point, I expected the movie to go in more of like a Truman Show direction, where he very slowly realizes how the world around him isn't what it seems. But I had no idea how quickly this would fall apart before my very eyes. So they established that Ryan Reynolds' job is basically a bank robbery mission that people do all the time. But when people come to rob it, Ryan Reynolds and his friend just seem pretty casual about it, because they've probably done this like hundreds of times, if not more.
This will all be over soon.
So how about it? Beers on the beach after work?
Of course we're going for beers on the beach after work.
That makes me so happy.
But can you imagine playing a game, like an online game, where you go into a bank and all you have to do is pop off a couple of shots, and then all of a sudden all the NPCs just politely get on the ground? None of them put up any kind of resistance and just basically let you walk out with the money. I mean, the new Payday is gonna have nothing on this. This guy gets paid to let this bank get robbed. At the very least, he could look a little f***ing scared. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this guy gets paid. And you find out later in the movie that this is actual in-game currency. I don't even know where to begin with how stupid that is. So anyways, after the bank robbery and Ryan Reynolds talking to his friend about finding the perfect dream girl, we cut to the actual plot of this movie. From the trailers, I thought this was Scarlett Johansson. Am I crazy for thinking that? So this lady is doing this shady deal with this guy, and apparently it's something about a secret level.
What have you got?
Proof of a secret level. That's what you're looking for, right?
I kind of thought this was like an open world game, but okay, I guess there's levels. So she asks him if he has it, and then he says this.
Nope, but I know who does.
Want to know what I do to people who waste my time?
Why would you do that? What are you threatening to do? Kill him in a video game? Like, what are you, Chris Chan?
Put down your wares and bring yourselves unto me.
Sage wins.
See that?
But in the context of this story, if she's trying to get information from him, that's probably a really stupid thing to do. I don't know, maybe they both just really like to roleplay.
Listen. Anyone want to RP? Follow me, okay? Thank you. I slowly begin to take off your clothing. My lizard begin to show.
Also, if you couldn't tell from the voice alone, that guy in the mask is Hugh Jackman. If you look up the cast of this movie, it actually looks like quite the star-studded affair. Except most of the big names that you see are only in the movie for like 2 seconds. So even though this guy gives her the information, she ends up shooting him anyways because he's asking questions.
What's special about this video clip anyway?
What's special is I kill people who ask questions about it.
Seriously, is it lewd or is it just the experience?
Those are questions.
Is this supposed to make her some kind of badass? I mean, again, this is a video game. He's just going to respawn. She acts like this guy was being a huge dick or something, when at most he was just kind of being flirty.
Are you really British or is that an accent filter? Because maybe we could meet up later.
I don't have a burning desire to see your mum's basement, thanks.
But as she's walking away from the crime scene, she's kind of like miming all the things that the NPCs always say all the time. But Ryan Reynolds says something different.
Love that song.
That's a new one.
Ryan Reynolds falls in love at first sight and decides to go talk to her, but his friend reminds him that he's not supposed to talk to the sunglasses people. So yeah, in this game, all the players are distinguished from the NPCs because they wear sunglasses. I guess they couldn't just have people's nameplates appear above their heads like most online games do. But this seems to be put in there less for the players and more for the NPCs, which makes it weird. Like, these NPCs are supposed to recognize that people have sunglasses and they're not really supposed to talk to them. But that's not how NPCs work. They're not just gonna decide to walk up and start talking to people. When you're playing Skyrim and some random guy just comes up to you and just starts spouting off like a bunch of random bullshit, it's not because he consciously decided to do that. Some asshole programmer decided that that would be a good thing to put in the game.
Do you get to the Cloud District very often? Oh, what am I saying? Of course you don't. Did I see you talking to Sven? Maybe not. Maybe... Never mind. But I would stay away from him if I were you.
Last mistake.
Now, I'm not a video game developer, but the idea that these NPCs are self-aware just enough to know that they are completely segregated from the players is just odd. Like, unless an NPC is programmed to do something like that, it's just going to stand there and probably just spout off the same dialogue over and over again, which the movie kind of already established that NPCs do. Or at least most of them do, but we'll get into that later. This would also suck because no matter what custom character you make, they always have to have some stupid pair of sunglasses on. So against his friend's wishes, he ends up going after her anyways and ends up getting obliterated by a train. But after that, the girl logs out, and then we get our first look at the real world, and it raises a lot of questions. So up until this point, you've probably imagined that all the people playing this game are playing with some sort of advanced VR headset, but every time they pull out, people are just wearing like headphones and just playing on their computer. It just seems like everybody's using VR in the game. I mean, otherwise people would have like very stilted and odd movements. But I guess this game is just so advanced that even with keyboard controls, you can have your character move very fluidly. Anyways, we pull out, and I guess she's been playing this game in this cafe for like 8 hours. The lady working there is really bitchy and just wants her to leave and doesn't care what she has to say.
We usually don't put the chairs on the tables. One small coffee over 4 hours, girl.
Wow, that is some great dialogue. People actually talk like that in the real world. This movie is just full of zingers.
It's like losing my virginity, but in my mouth.
Though I do love that she starts getting into the plot and the lady just cares about as much as I do.
I have a lawsuit against the publisher, and the evidence that I need is in the games. And I had my codes.
I wish we weren't closing so I could hear more about this.
So then we cut back to Guy, who apparently respawned at home, but now he's decided he doesn't want his regular coffee.
Actually, I think I'd like to try a cappuccino today. Ooh, cappuccino.
I will say, this is probably the most entertaining scene in the movie, the way the tension slowly builds.
You get a medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars. That's what you get. That's what everyone gets. Every day, always.
There's even a line that made me laugh harder than anything else in the movie.
Well, hey, somebody's about to get shot.
Sir Johnny?
But then they had to ruin it with a really terrible quip.
Ah! I'm just keeping you on your toes. It's like, Jesus washed my tongue. Right before he finished, he finally told my dad, he's good enough.
But again, this doesn't really make sense from like a video game standpoint. So on top of being able to recognize players, NPCs can also recognize when other NPCs are acting out of line. At no point in the movie do the developers ever say they expect there to be like a sentient AI, yet there's all these fail-safes for just such an occasion. I know it sounds nitpicky, but there's so many missed opportunities for jokes in here that actually make sense and could be kind of funny. Like, what if an actual player came in and ordered a cappuccino, which made him want to, but then she just keeps telling him it's unavailable? It would make sense, and it would give him more of a reason to want to be like the sunglasses people. Or he keeps asking for a cappuccino, and every time he does, she just lays down another medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars.
Medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars.
Actually, I think I'd like to try a cappuccino today.
Medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars.
Ooh, cappuccino.
Medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars.
I'd like to try a cappuccino. Please.
Medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars. Medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars. Medium coffee, cream, 2 sugars.
And by the time he leaves, there's just this huge stack of coffees just sitting there. So Guy goes back to work, and of course it gets robbed again, as it does all the time. And coincidentally, the girl from earlier starts walking past the door, but then he decides to try and get the sunglasses from the bank robber.
You tried to talk to her yesterday, it didn't work. It will never work. We don't mess with the sunglasses people.
Maybe I'll get some sunglasses of my own.
I guess because he thinks he needs the sunglasses to be able to talk to her, even though they heard each other earlier just fine. At least the both of them accept that this is pretty stupid.
What are you talking about? You can't do that.
Oh my god, what am I doing?
So I noticed that the bank robber was played by The Rock, but just like with Hugh Jackman's cameo, the guy is wearing a mask that covers his entire face. It's almost like they couldn't get these celebrities to actually appear, and they could only afford to have them do voiceovers with body doubles. I guess the bank robber is actually these 2 little girls playing the game, because funny. But because this is PG-13, they do that really cliche joke where it ends on like the F word or something, and they end up cutting it off.
Go back to your side, man. He's just an NPC. Waste that motherfucker.
Okay, just need to borrow them for a sec, okay?
Back off.
They get into a little scuffle, and Guy ends up shooting the bank robber. This part is pretty funny because from his perspective, he thinks he's just murdered somebody and he's in denial.
He's just resting.
In pieces! That man is dead!
He's so sleepy.
Then he runs outside and puts on the glasses, and oh my god, everything looks horrible. Are they implying this is what the game looks like for the players? This just looks awful. There's just all this bullshit everywhere. Does the game really look better for the NPCs than the players? Let's not gloss over the fact that in-game characters can not only take items from players, but they can also take the sunglasses that they use to access the HUDs and menus in the game. Not only is it really stupid to attach all the players' abilities to an item that's in the game, this item isn't even permanently attached to your character, it can just be taken off. On top of that, he can now pick up items like health packs and money, and they show that all he has to do is touch these things to absorb them, and they actually have an effect on him. But wouldn't he have just coincidentally touched that stuff at some point? I mean, it's right there on the sidewalk, unless you really need these sunglasses in order to be able to touch things like that. Remember earlier when I said he earns in-game money when he's at the bank? Well, this is confirmed when he can pick up actual players' money and the money shows up in the same ATM that he deposits his cash into. But it doesn't take the mods very long to figure out that something's not right here. They rightfully assume that the game's being modded so that they can look like an NPC, since they can't find a profile for the character anywhere.
I was smoked by a non-playable character.
An NPC? That's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody can equip an NPC's skin on their avatar.
Since they can't trace it to an account, they can't ban him, so they have to go into the game to confront him personally. But for some reason, one of them decided to use this really horrifying furry outfit.
I'm just being honest. I think the bunny suit is just a little much.
Excuse me?
This is also when he's first called Blue Shirt Guy, which he's called for the rest of the movie instead of Free Guy, which is the title of the movie.
There he is, Blue Shirt Guy.
Blue shirt. Yes.
But the whole exchange is really awkward and just goes on way too long, and it's not funny at all.
Nice skin.
Thank you. That's sweet.
How'd you get it?
Well, mostly genetics, I think. I'm pretty lucky. I have naturally dewy skin.
Once they realize this isn't going anywhere, they try to shoot him, and then this whole foot chase ensues. Guy runs into a building and then figures out that he can do these crazy super jumps. And because he starts jumping around, the mods say they're going to go God mode. Now, God mode is a real thing in video games. It essentially makes your character invincible. But this is what this movie thinks that God mode is. Yep, all you have to do is hit a couple of keys and you can turn the game into Inception all of a sudden. You would have to be absolutely bonkers to think that this works in any game, that this is how anything works. They chase him across this big beam and then he jumps for this wrecking ball. Because this movie is so funny and original, they play Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball for a half second, which is just enough for me to get this video claimed, so I'm not playing it. But he misses the wrecking ball and falls, and then this balloon thing fills up, so he's okay. And then he's splattered by the mods who got to their car in like a half a second. Hey, maybe if you guys can teleport, you don't have to alter the design of the map in order to make stupid stairs to chase the guy. They assume the problem's been solved, but one of them doesn't want to inform their boss that this happened.
You should not talk to Antoine.
I just think it's important to be transparent, okay?
No, Antoine is deep in the sequel launch. He's either not going to care, or he's going to get pissed, and then he's going to blame us.
His only reason is he wants to focus on the sequel, even though this could be a serious problem. But then they get into this whole conversation about why Stranger Things guy is in complaints, even though he's supposed to be this hotshot developer.
Pathetic story involving failed dreams, desperation, and a mountain of college debt.
You're absolutely right. That story sounds horrible and boring and full of white privilege. Don't talk to Antoine.
My god, this couldn't get any more cringe. And this is the second time they've done a joke where somebody starts telling their backstory just for somebody to immediately shut them down. So we cut to this old interview and we find out Stranger Things guy is actually associated with the girl who was looking for information earlier.
No, Millie is the genius. She built the AI engine from the ground up.
The two of them get into an argument in his apartment, and apparently they've both developed the AI for Free City together. But apparently they designed it for a completely different game, and the guy in charge of Free City ended up swiping their AI and using it in his.
How can I move on? How can you? Antoine swiped our AI engine to use in his dumb shooter.
Millie,
Come on, Keys, he stole from us. And now he's lying about it so he doesn't have to give us the credit and the royalties that we deserve.
Millie.
Now I've been waiting till just now to bring this up, but does that sound familiar at all? There's an ambitious guy working really hard to make video games for this company, but an evil corporate villain ends up stealing their idea and making their own game with it, and because they're living in the shadow of this evil guy, they decide to go into the game in order to look for proof. Yeah, this is Tron. They ripped off Tron for half this movie's f***ing plot. I guess you could even draw a lot of comparisons to Grandma's Boy. I just can't get away from referencing that movie. Anyways, we go back into the game, and I guess she's scoping out the place where she got the intel about, but it kind of begs the question why she's just now scoping this place out when she got the intel like forever ago. She got that file from Hugh Jackman in the beginning, and every time we see her after that, she's just kind of like walking around the city not doing anything. Probably should have just come straight here. While she's checking the place out, Guy decides this is the best time to just sneak up on her. This gets them both caught, but that's okay because she brought her legally distinct portal gun. They even made the portals blue and orange. I don't know how they got away with that. Maybe because it has that fiery effect? This portal takes them back to her home base, and she now assumes that he's just a player she mistook for an NPC. Because he only shows up as level 1, she tells him he should probably level up. So I guess on top of giving him all these other abilities, these sunglasses also give him the ability to level up. But when she suggests that he could get XP from punching a pedestrian in the face, he's like, oh, I don't want to hurt people. And then she goes,
I've got to admit, that is kind of refreshing. Sometimes forget not everyone you meet on here is a sociopathic man-child.
oh my god, doesn't that just take you right back to Gamergate? What part of f***ing with pedestrians in a video game makes you a sociopathic man-child? If you boot up Grand Theft Auto and hand the controller to anybody, guy or a girl, they're going to end up killing pedestrians within the first 5 minutes of the game. How is she gonna act all high and mighty after she shot another player in the head for asking questions? Whatever. After that we cut to a montage of Guy leveling up for a while. I can't really play any of it because of the music that's playing over the whole thing, but he essentially just becomes very popular overnight for like no discernible reason. He's gotten so famous that Jacksepticeye and Ninja are talking about him. Don't you guys have any shame? I bet they made less than The Rock for appearing in this, and he doesn't even show his f***ing face. They even do a Jeopardy bit, and it's so sad to think that this is one of the last things Alex Trebek ever did. But why did he get this popular? Just from doing good deeds to level up? That's not even anything special. There's plenty of people that do passive playthroughs. Only streamers really get any type of popularity doing stuff like that, but it doesn't end up on the news. The dude committed to the grind and he's already got like Japanese kids doing cosplays of him. Anyway, he goes back to the bank to desperately plead his friend to wear the sunglasses, but he refuses. It's actually really reminiscent of that scene in They Live, where Roddy Piper is trying desperately to get Keith David to wear the sunglasses. Only there's not a 10-minute fight sequence afterward. Come to think of it, the whole sunglasses thing is also kind of similar to They Live. This movie would have been a lot better if they had done some sort of social commentary like that, but instead they lean more into video game violence is bad and you should be more like Blue Shirt Guy. Whatever, we cut back to the B plot and I guess she's finally sneaking into that place she was scoping out earlier. Stranger Things guy is helping her from the bathroom, and it's around this point I started to notice that something was off. This is just me speculating, but I think this movie was really affected by being shot post-pandemic. I know he's in this bathroom stall because he doesn't want anybody knowing what he's doing, but it just started to dawn on me that people tend to either be on their own or with one other person most of the movie. Even in the streets of Free City, sometimes it's just really barren. Realistically, they could have just worked together in his apartment, like we saw them together there earlier. Uh-oh, someone tested positive. I guess we'll just film this in the bathroom stall. Or maybe they just thought it would be more tense if he was hiding what he was doing. I don't know, I don't care. There's only a couple of guards at this place, and she seems to get around them with ease. But oh no, the thing that she stole is hooked to an alarm. But don't worry, your #1 simp stalker is coming to save the day. Seriously though, if I saw this guy following me around this much, I'd block him by now. Then there's this whole action scene that's actually not too bad, and it knows not to overstay its welcome. They end up escaping, but then we cut back to the real world because the main villain of the movie finally shows up. And he is the most stereotypical middle-aged Silicon Valley tech bro douchebag that's ever existed. This movie has absolutely no subtlety with the villain, they just make him completely unlikable, like he just comes in and fires people on the spot.
People! Ooh, you are fired!
Which lawsuit are we talking about?
I thought you were still at Burning Man.
Oh, does it look like I'm still at Burning Man? No, so shut your stupid bearded face and listen.
But as obnoxious as this guy is, this scene does have some relevance to the real world. They expect him to be upset about Blue Shirt Guy, but he actually really likes it because it's giving the game a lot of publicity, and it'll probably boost the numbers for when Free City 2 comes out. They've only mentioned the sequel like a couple of times before this, but this is when they actually get into it. He wants them to make a bigger, better version of Blue Shirt Guy for the sequel, but they say they're a little too busy porting over the skins from the first game. But Antoine says that there's no reason to worry about that because the skins won't be ported over to the sequel.
Antoine, you told the fans Free City 2 is backwards compatible.
Well, here's the thing. When I said that, I was lying.
Listen.
Considering that this came out before the release of Overwatch 2, it was kind of ahead of its time. All the skins these players have earned are just going to disappear, and when the second game comes out, if they don't like it, the first one's not going to be there for them to play. But then Antoine pulls Stranger Things aside and tells him that he's offering him his job back as a developer. But then he turns it down for some reason. Like, if you actually take the job as a developer, you could be a much greater asset to this plot to take Antoine down. Anyway, we cut back to the game, and I guess Guy has found himself a much bigger base of operations. She's rightfully very suspicious of him and the fact that he has an NPC skin.
Who are you?
Guy.
No, who are you, really?
And while she should be more concerned with the fact that he keeps stalking her, he invites her out for ice cream and she completely lets her guard down. We both like the same flavor of ice cream? How fun and quirky. I hope you don't steal my IP address. Though he does lose a couple of points with her after he tries to tell an edgy joke.
Weird Bunny, that's totally my speed too. A homosexual and a man in a wheelchair are trying to murder a very small child.
Whoa,
cripple
whoa, stop,
says
stop.
to the homosexual.
Stop!
This does make sense since the only jokes he would really hear are from the players playing the game. Though if this were directed by Quentin Tarantino, we'd be hearing a lot more gamer words than that. We briefly cut back to Stranger Things, who's looking at the NPC that Guy is based on. But he's way more complex than he expected. Uh-oh. I wonder what that could mean. Oh, sorry, we gotta let this cliche Hollywood romance build where these people just have everything in common.
Vintage Mariah, bubblegum ice cream, and no swings. This is too weird.
The same thing too.
She tells this stupid story about how being on a swing set as a kid made her feel so free, and then he's just like, I really want to kiss you.
I really want to kiss you. Is that weird?
And even though it's really awkward and out of the blue, she just lets him go for it. I know they're just kissing in a video game, but these people have built romantic chemistry over the course of like 2 minutes of talking. But then she's like, oh, somebody's at the door and I have to go. And instead of just logging out right there, she starts walking away. Like, if you had to immediately go, you're not going to take the time to make an exit. You're just going to log off the game and then vanish right there. But this movie wants to keep up the ruse that she doesn't know that he's an NPC and he doesn't know that he exists in a video game. Even though that's spoiled like immediately after. But if that wasn't stupid enough, she turns around and immediately tells him her real name.
My real name is Millie.
My real name continues to be Guy.
Hey, I know I was really sus of you like 5 minutes ago, but now that we've talked a little bit and went on the swings, I'm basically gonna dox myself. At least I know her name now. I still don't know what Stranger Things' name is. Keys? Alright, I guess. Speaking of, he's the one knocking at the door, and he's here to tell Millie that Guy is actually an AI.
AI. What's the A stand for?
Artificial.
What's the
Intelligence.
Oh, what was the A again?
Let's move on.
I guess the AI was originally intended for the game that these two were initially making, and when Antoine stole all their stuff, he used their AI in their game to build Free City. And Blue Shirt Guy evolved way beyond what they ever expected, becoming the first, like, sentient AI. And then Millie's like, oh gosh, this is bad, this is terrible, this is horrible, he kissed me.
It's pretty good. I mean, Millie, we have to celebrate.
No, this can't be happening.
What are you talking about? This is what we've been
No,
working
I
for.
let him kiss me.
She makes it out to be a big deal, like they kissed in real life and actually formed some sort of bond. This movie really expects you to believe that these two have any sort of chemistry, even though they've had the most minimal contact with each other. And it's even crazier because whenever the kiss happened, she looked like it was really awkward because it wasn't actually happening. And now all of a sudden it's a big deal? Also, this is happening in the middle of the movie. I feel like this should be happening way later, towards the end of the second act. Anyway, Keyes makes fun of her a bit for being in love with an AI and actually brings up some pretty good points.
So, Millie, food for thought. He's like 4.
Really? You're gonna do that?
Really?
Wow, you just made it really creepy.
This also means every NPC in the city has this AI. I guess the barista from earlier learned how to make a cappuccino because Guy mentioned it. But why is it all the other NPCs give very generic responses and Free Guy is this very advanced AI all of a sudden? The movie has an explanation for this later on, but first it introduces the big conflict of Free City 2. Once Free City 2 launches, all the code and the AI are going to be replaced, which means that Guy is going to be eliminated from the world. This gives the ticking clock in the movie some weight, since not only will Guy disappear, but so will the proof that they need. This also means she has to go tell Guy that he's not even a real person. I never noticed this pile of ice cream cones on my first watch. That's actually kind of like the coffee cup joke I made earlier. Millie shows up without her accent, and when Guy asks why, she says that she turned off her accent filter.
Your voice? Where's your Australian accent?
Turned off the accent filter.
What, you've never heard of an accent filter? They're actually really cool. Check this out. Oh, I'm a British man. Cup of tea. Blimey. What the deuce? Wow. Technology has come so far. Anyways, Millie takes him to this place, and I don't know exactly what it is. I guess it's like a place that exists in the game for people to look at leaderboards and stuff, and clips. She thinks this is a good place to tell him that him and his world isn't real, and that she exists in a completely different world than he does.
This city is a game.
There's no easy way to say this. I know it's a game. You taught me how to play it.
But it's not just that it's like a game, it is a game.
He very understandably has a breakdown and kind of goes out and starts being an asshole to everybody. Wait, can we hear that again? That was some really awkward ADR. It's just really obvious that line wasn't originally there, like he was just supposed to stand there and contemplate on this. It just doesn't match his body language at all. Anyways, after that is when he goes into the streets and starts being an absolute menace. And I'll admit, this scene's another one that got a laugh from me.
It's fake! We don't matter! That building! That's fake! That car! Officer Johnny! Have a good one, guy!
Guy decides to go talk to his buddy from the bank and basically ask him how he would feel if the world wasn't real.
What would you do if you found out that you weren't real?
What do you mean?
He says it wouldn't really bother him and actually gives a pretty decent speech on why he feels that way.
I say, okay, so what if I'm not real? I mean, look, brother, I am sitting here with my best friend trying to help him get through a tough time, right? And even if I'm not real, this moment is. I mean, what's more real than a person trying to help someone they love?
And this is all the motivation Guy needs to get back into action. They both go back to that cliffside base in order to get that clip Millie was looking for, which kind of confused me because I thought they had already gotten it, but I guess I just didn't notice that she had dropped it in that scene. And now Channing Tatum shows up for his 20 seconds of screen time, but at least you can actually see his face and know that it's him. But as it turns out, this guy's a big fan of Blue Shirt Guy.
Are you Blue Shirt Guy?
Yeah, maybe.
Holy shit! You're Blue Shirt Guy! It's you!
Hey, he's that guy from the Skittles commercial.
Easy.
He doesn't like to be touched there.
So I guess the thing they were trying to steal was a video clip of this guy going to the secret level that Millie was looking for. And even though he knows Guy broke in with Millie to try and steal the clip, he still decides to just hand it over to him.
And you tried to steal it from me with that Molotov chick.
Her name's Millie.
Yeah.
Guy also decides to dox Millie by just throwing her name out there. I think it's pretty ridiculous that video clips are stored as items in the game instead of being done from like an external software like most people do. So if I'm trying to make YouTube clips of me playing this game, somebody could just grief my base and then just take all the videos that I've ever recorded. I also love that Guy just made all the work that Millie's been doing completely obsolete in a matter of just seconds. Also, this guy is streaming the whole time, and he talks pretty openly about his walkthrough to the secret level to his audience, and makes it seem like he's talked about it before.
All right, so what's happening is...
Guy's looking for a clip showing a walkthrough I did to get to the secret level.
It seems like Millie could have made a lot of progress just watching the streamers play this game and finding out the secrets, instead of going to all these shady people and doing all this stuff to try and find information. And because this guy is such a dorky looking nerd, of course we have to do the cliche, haha, isn't it funny that he still lives with his mom?
It's crime.
Mom! Mom! Are you serious with the vacuum right now? You really have to do that here? God!
You're 22 living in my house. There is no God.
Sorry, guy.
Though I will say they do exit this scene on a high note.
Mom! Do not touch that sock! I swear to God, if you touch that sock, you will be in therapy for the rest of your life! No! That's my special sock! Put it down!
So Guy goes back to give the clip to Millie, but her character is just standing there because she's offline. So wait, when you log out, your character just stands there catatonic instead of despawning? So on top of all the NPCs constantly existing and going back to their own houses, player models also stay in the game the entire time. So while you're offline, somebody could just come into your base, kill you, take all your money, and just take a bunch of your stuff. So Millie comes back online and Guy gives her the video clip, and before we can even watch it, we gotta cut back to more YouTubers. Pokimane? Wow, this movie did a good job getting well-liked, non-controversial figures. Then we cut back to Antoine, who's really mad at Blue Shirt Guy all of a sudden. The pre-sale orders for Free City 2 have gone way down, and he blames Guy for some reason.
People are so busy watching this loser on Twitch and YouTube. You know what they're not doing, guys? Buying Free City 2.
If he's so popular, promising that he's in the next game should be boosting sales. Either way, Antoine wants him banned from the game, and Keys is like, you can't do that, and immediately spills the beans about him being an AI.
You trying to tell me that all this shit about a self-aware NPC is real?
Yeah, I don't know how or why, but he's real.
I don't know why he does this. It would have been in his best interest to say, oh, we just can't ban him. Antoine just wigs out, and then this is when I completely turn on him as a villain. For those that don't know, this is Taika Waititi, director of What We Do in the Shadows and Thor Ragnarok. And in both those movies, in my opinion at least, he gives a pretty good comedic performance.
Well, that didn't go so great. I hit the main artery, so yeah, it's a real mess in there. On the upside, I think she had a really good time.
But in this, it feels like he's trying way too hard. He almost feels like a villain from a Happy Madison movie. Anyway, rather than deleting the asset for Blue Shirt Guy, which would probably be really easy, they suggest to reset the server, which would also reset all the NPCs. Keys argues that this isn't a good idea because he could potentially murder the first artificial life form. I'm just surprised there hasn't been more panic of people thinking that he might evolve to become like Skynet or something.
So I don't care if he's Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger. Terminate him.
Anyway, they start shutting down the servers right as Millie and Guy are looking at the footage that they found. As it turns out, this secret level is the island from the game Millie and Keys were working on together. And this is all the proof Millie needs to show that the game was built off of their code. Though it is really stupid to think that when they stole this game, they built an entirely new city and didn't even bother to delete all the old assets like the island. You have an entire map that's presumably the same size as Free City that's just out there that nobody can get to, and it's just taking up a ton of memory. And if Keys really has the mod powers that they showed earlier, then he should be able to find this island in order to give the proof to Millie. And after Millie got the proof that she needed, she didn't even back it up. She decided to watch the video in the game right before the server reset, which ended up deleting the clip. You had it, dude. You had it! This movie could have been a whole half hour shorter if you had just saved that. If you're looking for proof for your court case, maybe you should be recording your gameplay constantly. Once the game is reset, Guy has absolutely no memory of anything that happened before. Millie tries her best to get him to remember everything, but nothing's really working.
You know this. You said this clip showed a place you'd seen before. I need to know where.
I'm sorry, lady. I think you have the wrong guy.
She pretty much gives up until Keys calls her and tells her it's not too late. He says resetting the server doesn't get rid of the memory because he would have to destroy the server to do that?
I tried, okay? You were right, it's over.
A reboot, it doesn't erase his AI coding. You literally would have to destroy the servers to do that.
I have no idea how you can say something so unbelievably stupid and then not give any explanation whatsoever. But then he gives the most convoluted explanation as to why Millie is the key to awakening him. So back when these two were working on their game together, Keyes wanted to make a character that was basically a carbon copy of himself. And I guess this guy must have been a lonely incel at the time, because he programmed this guy to always be lusting after the girl of his dreams. But he designed it so this NPC could only fall in love with a very specific type of girl. And the person he based his dream girl on just happens to be Millie. Even though this is obviously a confession that he is madly in love with her, she seems very oblivious to this, and it's not really played off like it's a confession of his love. But I guess Guy is actually the NPC that Keyes made, and the whole reason that he came to life was because he was madly in love with Millie. Let's ignore how creepy it is that Keyes made an NPC that reflects himself, and all he really did was relentlessly stalk this girl. Guy didn't come to life because they made this really advanced, sophisticated AI, but because he fell in love. And it's also because of this that Millie can somehow restore all of his memories, even the one about the video.
You changed his code, and I think you can do it again. You brought him to life, Millie.
But if other data, such as the video file that they found earlier, disappeared after the server reset, why would his still be intact? And nowhere in that explanation did he ever say why they would have to destroy the servers in order to get rid of his memories. I guess with the power of love, anything is possible.
Happiness to one and all! I send you my love!
So Millie hops right back into the game and decides to do the bank robbery mission just to take Guy hostage. You would think she would take a much gentler approach and maybe sing the song that caught his attention in the first place. I mean, it seemed to work before. But instead she's just really aggressive with him and then forces him to put sunglasses on. But because that doesn't work, she decides to blow up a random cop car and then kiss him, and of course all the memories come flooding back. Let's not forget that this is the same person who said people who hurt NPCs are sociopathic man-children. But not only does Guy remember everything from before, he also knows where to find a secret level all of a sudden. And then we get to what is probably the stupidest twist in the entire movie. The secret level has apparently been on the horizon this entire time, and Antoine made it to where it couldn't be seen in the game, except he forgot to remove it from the reflections. This is absolutely f***ing bonkers. There's absolutely no way nobody would have noticed this by now. Video games, especially modern ones, have so many reflective surfaces. Mirrors, cars, windows, f***ing water, which, spoiler alert, this whole island is surrounded by. And maybe this is just me, but when I play games like GTA, I tend to look at the reflections on the car to see if it actually reflects the environment around me. But then Millie says that they have to go there, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. It seems like they could just take pictures of the reflections that show the island from their game. But I guess that's not evidence enough and they have to physically go there, but Guy said that they can't get there because it's out of bounds. Keyes says he can get them in there, and Guy decides to rally up all the NPCs in the game and give them a big old speech.
What are you trying to say, Guy? Things can be different. Different how? For starters, you can put your arms down.
And now all the players are disappointed that all the NPCs are gone.
Hello? Where the hell is everybody?
Oh my god, that was even more awkward than the last one. And I guess word has gotten out that Guy is an AI, and one of the YouTubers seems to think that means he's alive.
Actual AI. You know, alive.
But once Pokimane starts talking about it, Antoine really knows he's fucked. But he starts to catch on to who's doing this whenever Guy says Millie's name in that stream.
Her name's Millie. Who? Millie.
Which I even said was a real stupid idea, but these things have to happen for plot convenience. They find Guy and Millie driving towards the island and start using their mod powers to basically destroy the entire f***ing city just to stop them. At this point, the sequel is about to release. You may as well just shut the first game down if you're that worried about them going to get the evidence, and instead you're just f***ing up the entire map for no reason. Or you could just restart the server again. Millie would have to go back to Guy to give him his memories back before they try again. And then just restart the server every time they get close to the island. And Keyes has had these mod powers the entire time, and he's only just now using it for their advantage. But now that I think about it, they could have used Millie and Guy as a diversion since all the attention was on them. And then Keyes could jump into the game as his character and just get to the island and get all the evidence he needs. But instead he just kinda makes a couple of bridges for him. But once they get through, Antoine is pissed and decides to do 3 things. Ban all the players so that nobody can see the secret level. send in the unfinished version of Blue Shirt Guy that was made for Free City 2, and confront Keyes for his involvement in this whole scheme, which I don't know exactly how he found out. Maybe it was just because he was involved with Millie. Keyes decides to not be such a beta cuck anymore and confronts Antoine about all the problems he has with them stealing his game. And with just one key press, he turns an entire building into a bridge that leads to the island. At the very least, he was smart enough to start streaming the game to all the players so that they could see what was going on. But they try to treat this like this is something that affects like the whole world, like people in other countries care about what happens in this stupid video game. But before Guy can cross the bridge, he's confronted by his doppelganger.
Catchphrase.
It is mildly amusing that he's so unfinished that he just has the front texture of a blue shirt on his chest. But just when all seems hopeless, Buddy shows up out of nowhere on a moped in order to slap the guy's tits.
Way better.
Thank you. No, it's not a compliment.
I wouldn't touch him if I were you, buddy.
You don't think I should touch him. You don't mind this, do you?
But then he's knocked down, leaving Guy to fight him all on his own. Your boy starts coming up with the death blow, and then the Skittles guy gives the best line delivery of this entire movie.
Oh shit, that's a death blow.
Oh, he's coming in with a death blow!
But then we get to the moment where me and everybody in the room completely turned on the movie. Hey Disney, we get it. You bought 20th Century Fox. Can I watch a stupid fucking comedy without you guys advertising your other products? They even play the Avengers theme over it, and then like 2 seconds later he pulls out a lightsaber. What's even sadder is I bet there were people in the movie theater that clapped and cheered like babies when they saw a thing that they recognized. Like, I know that video games like Fortnite do use recognizable IPs like that and everything. It just comes off so weird in this and just feels dirty. Like, this is a movie about video games. You would think they would have more video game iconography than movies. The only real video game reference I can think of is the Scorpion tank from Halo shows up in the background. And speaking of Fortnite, you just can't get away from it, can you? They even rip off the portal gun without it actually being the portal gun. Anyway, Guy's about to get thumbed through the chest, and then he decides to put the glasses on the big guy. And now he knows what it's truly like to be a free guy. Free guy. Free bird. Free hat. But now that Guy is free to cross the bridge, Antoine decides he's had enough, and he's going to enact his final, evil, sadistic plan. Even though there's plenty of reasonable things that he could try at this point, he decides to destroy the entire f***ing server room with a goddamn axe. Yeah, I guess since a couple of things I tried didn't work, I'm just going to destroy all this expensive equipment. That seems like the logical thing to do. Like, how did it escalate to be this bad shit so fast? And if that wasn't stupid enough, they treat it like the game wouldn't just immediately shut down, but the whole city just has to slowly crumble. Guy and Buddy are making a mad dash across this bridge before it crumbles when they get separated by a big crack. And even though this crack looks like something he could easily jump over if he just went and got a running start, he decides to give the whole "go on without me" speech. And the crumble conveniently slows down just enough so that he can give this speech, which was precious time he could have spent actually trying to just jump over. And if you want him to go on without you to save time, well, giving this speech is just obviously stalling him. But what's even weirder is this whole speech is about how he's been scared his whole life and he just doesn't want to be scared anymore.
I've been scared my whole damn life. I'm not scared anymore.
Is this supposed to be some kind of character arc for him? The guy hasn't been scared this entire movie. He wasn't scared when he was robbed at gunpoint. He wasn't scared when this giant villain showed up. The only thing he was really ever scared of was to put on the sunglasses. They really said, let's force a character arc on this guy before he dies, otherwise people won't care because he has no character outside of being Guy's friend. And that's literally all he is, that's why his name is Buddy. Anyway, Guy runs super fast and makes it to the end and jumps through a thing, and what do you know, he's at the island, yay! Everybody clap! Though this island exists on the same servers, so shouldn't it also have suffered some sort of damage when this happened? And even though Antoine was still smashing servers left and right, all the NPCs just happened to get to a place where everything stopped crumbling and they're safe, whatever. When Millie confronts Antoine, he says that everything's left on this one last server, which is very convenient. Again, I'm pretty sure destroying just one of these servers would take down the entire game immediately. And if you look behind Millie, it looks like there's still plenty in the back that are still intact.
Last server.
But yeah, let's just pretend this is the last one. The scene is way more tense that way. Ooh, I sure do hope he doesn't smash it. So Millie decides to do this whole deal where Antoine gives her back the code for the game she was originally making, and then they can make Free City 2 if they want to. She's going to drop the lawsuit she has been fighting so hard for this entire movie in order just to make her game because it's more important than the money. Like, this movie wants to keep pushing this theme of, oh, money is not as important as making a good video game, which is kinda true, but when it comes to developing video games, money is actually very f***ing important. How else are you going to fund the development for the rest of your game? I mean, just go through with the lawsuit, you have the evidence, you have everything! Even if you don't want the money, by doing this, you're dooming all those employees to continue working for a very toxic boss. But hey, we're gonna pretend that it was a happy ending because they ended up not making a whole lot of money on Free City 2 because it's buggy and laggy. We're going to pretend that this is the bad guy getting his comeuppance, even though in the real world, people put out subpar games all the time that don't do well and still get to keep their jobs and make money. You would think the comeuppance would be the fact that he destroyed any servers that Free City 2 would possibly run off of, but I guess they somehow still got the game off the ground. But it's okay, because the good guys made their game Free Life, which is apparently doing so much better than Free City 2. And they did so much better just because there's no violence and nobody does anything bad to NPCs.
Who'd have thought that so many people would just want to watch video game characters instead of shoot at them?
Yeah, people love this game where they do nothing but watch NPCs go about their lives in this perfect paradise where nothing wrong happens. Come on guys, this is what Anita Sarkeesian fought for. I mean, this is what video games should strive to be. Anyways, Keys decides to finally ask Millie to try and go out somewhere, but she's just way too oblivious because she's so horny for Guy still. But at the very least, she realizes that a relationship between the two of them could never work and decides to go into the game to let him know. But he knows before she even tells her, and he's like, I understand, but you know, there's a guy in the real world that actually loves you, and it's very obvious. And as if that wasn't enough, she has to go back and watch that video clip Keith sent earlier and listen to the exact same dialogue, but I guess this time it sinks in. So then she goes to the cafe, and then they meet in the middle of the street, and it's this big romantic thing. Oh my god, I promised myself I would. I promised myself I would. But we're not off the hook just yet. We have to establish that Buddy was okay the whole time, because that would be way too sad if he died. I mean, I would miss him dearly. Oh my god, end credits have never looked so sweet. My brain is so melted from doing this whole thing that I don't even know where to begin with the outro. I don't know if I could say that this is the worst thing that I've ever seen, but it's certainly the stupidest. I really didn't want to go into this thing being too nitpicky, but it's really hard when 90% of it is just exposition being thrown out that just raises more questions than it does answer anything. They could have done so many clever things with a premise like this, and all they had to do was know just the littlest bit about video games, but they just completely dropped the ball. And the biggest detriment with this being a comedy and all is that it's just not really funny. Maybe that's just my taste in comedy, but you can't deny this is a complete misuse of Ryan Reynolds. And if you want to fight me on that, you go home and you play Van Wilder in this movie back to back, and I dare you to tell me that this movie is better. I f***ing dare you! And I wouldn't recommend this to anybody. I know I said earlier that it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's easily in the top 5. And with that, I think it's finally time to bring this whole thing to a close. Whether you agree with me or not, I'd love to hear what any of you have to say about this movie down in the comments. This video was a lot more work than I originally intended, so any support through likes and subs would be greatly appreciated. And until the next video, I don't know, bye.